She smiled as I begged for air. My sister, my own blood, watched me drown through a screen she had built herself. The world clapped for her. My world collapsed. We were never equals. Not to our parents, not to anyone. She was the golden daughter. I was the default setting. It didn't start with the deepfake. It started with silence, with cameras disguised as gifts. I thought I was losing my mind. Then I found the file, the one labeled, "Use if she fights back." She made me a villain to hide her own crime, but I learned to code pain into proof. Now I'm rewriting the ending. They say the camera never lies, but when you grow up in a house where every corner is perfectly staged, you learn how to smile without showing your teeth. My family didn't yell. We performed. That was our legacy, a house of high-functioning dysfunction wrapped in tasteful lighting and curated laughter. Vivian thrived in it. She bloomed like a flower under the camera's gaze, vibrant, warm, magnetic. She always knew how to make people lean in, even when she said nothing at all. She called it charm. I called it strategy. I was the opposite. I didn't sparkle. I worked. I made partner at 30, bought my own house, paid off every cent of my student debt. People respected me, but they didn't hug me in Instagram posts, and they didn't ask about my weekend skincare routine. Within the family, I was Claire the Capable, which was just another way of saying I was too serious, too sharp, too cold. Our parents adored her. "Vivian keeps this family together," they'd say, even though she never stayed longer than a few hours during holidays. I cooked, cleaned, booked everything. But she brought the light, and in that house, light was everything. I remember the night of the anniversary video shoot. Dad had hired a small film crew to capture us, just being ourselves. I sat stiffly on the sofa while Vivian draped herself across the cushions like a starlet. Between takes, she leaned close, eyes locked onto mine, and whispered, "Don't forget, you owe me." Then the light came back on, and she laughed as if she'd told me a joke. Later, I looked at the footage. There we were, sisters smiling, heads leaning together, mouths parted in laughter. But when I paused the frame, I noticed something strange. Her eyes sparkled. Mine didn't. I wasn't looking at the camera. I wasn't even looking at her. I was looking past her straight into nothing. I should have seen it coming. The first real crack appeared 6 weeks later. An internal compliance officer at my firm called me in. Calm voice, neutral expression. "We've received a video, Claire. It shows you accepting an envelope from a Mr. Danning after your meeting on the Rayburn case." My throat went dry. He pressed play. There I was, in my office, reaching across my desk. I took the envelope. I nodded. My mouth moved, but the audio was off. That wasn't unusual for internal footage, but what chilled me was the way my face looked. Flat, controlled. Too controlled, like someone performing my expressions through a filter. I barely remembered the meeting. Danning had dropped off documents, not cash. There had been no reason for concern, but the angle was off and the lack of sound worked against me. I left the office with a warning and a mandatory compliance review. That night, I called Vivian. I don't know why. Maybe I thought she'd give me something, comfort, support, sisterhood. "Claire," she said, her voice warm. "You always go straight to drama. You think someone's trying to ruin your career?" I hesitated. "You're being paranoid," she continued. "You've been under pressure. You should take some time off. I'll bring you something." The next day, she arrived with a gift. A sleek new AI assistant for my home office. "It's perfect for you," she said. "It records notes, transcribes meetings, flags your calendar, and it listens for changes in your tone to remind you when you're stressed." I smiled. I even thanked her. That night, I placed it on the shelf above my desk. Its eye, because that's what it looked like, glowed softly. I told myself not to be ridiculous. This was Vivian's way of showing love. She bought gifts. She was generous. She cared. 2 days later, I woke up at 3 a.m. in a sweat. I couldn't breathe. I had dreamed I was being watched. I went into my office, unplugged the AI device, and set it in the drawer. But I couldn't sleep. Something gnawed at me. In the morning, I plugged it back in and opened the control interface. Just curiosity, I told myself. What harm could it do? That's when I saw it. The log. Microphone. Active. Hours logged, 512. Commands received, dozens. Voice match. Claire Hensley. It had been listening to me. Recording, parsing, learning. And then I heard it. One of the saved voice samples. A snippet labeled reactiontraining.mp3. I clicked play. My own voice filled the room, but I had never said those words. I'll make her pay. My hands went cold. The voice was mine. The tone was right. But the intent, the timing, the fact that it existed at all? My sister gave me this device. And somehow, my sister had turned me into someone I didn't recognize. My inbox turned against me. Emails once filled with polite updates and polite requests now arrived with thinly veiled concern or, worse, silence. One by one, the threads went cold. Invitations dried up. Meetings were rescheduled without explanation. I'd walk into a room and the air would shift, tight, rehearsed. "You okay?" a junior associate asked one afternoon, not looking up from her screen. "Everyone's just saying, 'You're like going through something.'" I smiled, or tried to. "What are they saying exactly?" She shrugged. "That you're different, maybe overworked, that you snapped." I thanked her. I locked myself in my office, and I stared at the AI device on the shelf, still disconnected, still watching even in sleep mode. Then came Vivian's live stream. The video opened on soft lighting and a piano soundtrack. Her eyes were swollen, her voice choked. "I didn't want to say anything," she began, "but my sister, Claire, she's not well, and I love her so much. But there comes a point when silence enables harm. She's been unraveling for a while, and we, as a family, have tried everything." Thousands of comments poured in. "So brave of you to share this. Mental health is no joke. Prayers for Claire." I watched the entire thing without blinking. She never said anything specific. But she didn't have to. The implication was surgical. I wasn't just unstable. I was dangerous. The kind of person who hurt those trying to help her. That night, I didn't sleep. The next morning, someone slipped a plain white envelope under my office door. No return address, no stamp, just my name in sharp black ink. Inside, a screenshot of another live stream. Vivian, younger, with a different girl. The caption read, "Family is everything. Some people just lose their way." And a note written in shaky print. "You're not the first. Be careful." I stared at the words, heart pounding. Not the first? I tried tracking the IP. Nothing. I called the sender's number, disconnected. But the seed had been planted, and it spread fast. Days later, the real infection arrived. An HR rep showed up at my desk, face tight. "Claire, can we speak privately?" I followed her down the corridor, the same hallway I used to walk with quiet confidence. She closed the door behind us. "There's been a report," she said. "We've received a video." "No." She handed me a tablet. A video played. My office, late at night. I was seated across from a male colleague, Jason. The camera angle was low, intimate. My voice was soft, my hand reaching across the desk. Then the moment changed. I leaned in. My fingers touched his. Then, fade to black. The screen blinked out. "That's not real," I said. She didn't respond. "It's not real." "We're placing you on leave," she said. "Effective immediately." Vivian's AI gift had taught me one thing. Deepfakes didn't need to be perfect. They just needed to make people uncomfortable. Doubt was a virus, and my image was the carrier. My phone rang before I even left the building. "Mom." "Claire," she said, like she was already tired. "Sweetheart, we think it's best if you take some time away. A reset." Vivian found a beautiful center upstate. Quiet, private, not punitive, just space to breathe. They made it sound like a spa. I said nothing. Vivian picked me up the next morning, all smiles and herbal tea. "No pressure," she whispered as we drove. "Just rest. We're all rooting for you." The center sat on a hill overlooking a frozen lake. The irony wasn't lost on me. Inside, everything was beige and sterile, smelling of lavender and soap. They took my phone, my clothes, my name. I became patient 306. 3 days passed in blankness, meals, therapy, silence. I said little. The other patients avoided me. They'd seen the clips. They knew my name, even if the staff didn't use it. Then, on the 5th night, Vivian visited. She entered like she owned the room, heels clicking against tile. She sat opposite me, leaned forward, and smiled. "I just want to make something clear," she said, voice like honey. "This isn't personal. It never was. You made yourself obsolete the second you stopped being useful to the narrative." I stared at her. "I built you," she whispered. "Every public version of you that people love, or loved, I built. So, if I can build you—" She leaned closer. "I can destroy you, with your face, your voice, your words." And then she was gone. I didn't move. I couldn't. That night, I sat in the common room, staring out the frost-covered window. Another patient shuffled beside me, mid-50s, eyes jittery. "You're her sister, right?" he said. I turned slowly. "Excuse me?" "The influencer," he said. "Vivian, you're her sister." I nodded, unsure why my mouth felt dry. He laughed once, bitter. "She did it to me too." I always believed that reality had boundaries, rules, evidence, truth. I built a life on that belief: contracts, law, integrity. But in that white room with padded corners and no clocks, I realized something else. If enough people agree on a lie, it becomes your reality. I was discharged quietly, with pills in a brown paper bag and a pamphlet that read, "You're not alone." No one met me outside. Not Vivian. Not our parents. I walked into the cold with $10 in cash and a reputation wrapped in whispers. Back home, I entered through the back door. My house felt unfamiliar, like it belonged to someone I used to be. I powered on my laptop. The AI device sat in the drawer, dormant. I stared at it like it might blink. I didn't sleep that night. I dug through every folder, every backup, every fragment of cloud storage I could access. Most of it was locked, encrypted or deleted, but then I found it. A folder buried under layers of renamed files. Inside, deepfake clips, dozens of them. Different years, different contexts, different clothes, some barely a few seconds long. Others had full dialogue, music, timestamps. In one, I screamed at a child who didn't exist. In another, I threw a glass at a colleague's head. My face, my voice, my gestures. But none of it was real. The dates went back 7 years. She'd been planning this for 7 years. There was a pattern. Each video mirrored a moment from my life, but twisted. A work presentation became a meltdown. A childhood memory became abuse. She was rewriting my story piece by piece. I almost deleted the folder. Instead, I copied it onto a separate drive, locked it in a drawer, and started digging deeper. Vivian had once mentioned her creative process. She used to joke about method content creation. I typed the phrase into a public search archive. One result stood out. An old behind-the-scenes blog from 5 years ago. A promotional set. Vivian standing in a replica of a modern law office. Mine. My desk. My certificates. Even the painting behind me. All recreated with stunning precision. She had built my world. And then she'd performed in it. I searched image tags. I found more. A series of short reels she never posted, labeled drafts. In one of them, Vivian wore my navy blazer, her hair in my old bun style. She spoke softly, trembling. "I remember when she hit me. She said I ruined everything." I froze. She was pretending to be me. No, worse. She was pretending to be herself, abused by me. The comments on that unreleased video, hundreds of them, were raw. My sister did the same. "This is brave. This is needed. Claire should be in jail." I hit record on my phone, placed it near my laptop speaker, and played back the video. I needed proof. Her tone, her confession, her lie. But when I played it back, the voice in the recording was mine. My face. My voice. Saying the words. Repeating the abuse. As if I had been the one to admit it. My stomach dropped. The software on my phone had cleaned the audio. auto-synced it with my known voice signature from the cloud. It erased her. I shut everything down. I didn't eat for 2 days. I barely moved. I wrote one sentence over and over in my journal. If memory is fake, who am I? I stood on the balcony with the wind in my face, leaning slightly forward, just enough to imagine the fall. And that's when I heard the knock. It was soft, hesitant. A man stood outside, gray coat, familiar eyes. "I'm from the center," he said. We spoke, about her. He handed me a USB. No label, no explanation. 4 years, he whispered. I couldn't do anything. But you still have a name. Use it before she finishes writing yours. He left before I could ask another word. I plugged the USB in. Files opened instantly, no encryption. Audio recordings, surveillance captures, metadata logs, all tracking Vivian's manipulation tactics, her planning stages, her trial runs. One document stood out, a proposal pitch to a startup incubator. It detailed an AI-based narrative building system capable of generating alternate memory timelines for therapeutic or entertainment purposes. The investor signatures at the bottom? Our parents. My throat tightened. They knew. They funded it. They'd called it a family initiative. Suddenly, so many things made sense. Why they ignored my warnings, why they offered the center so quickly, why Vivian always had access, always had time, always had help. They hadn't chosen her by accident. They had chosen her because she was the best mirror, and I was the shadow that ruined the reflection. I closed the laptop. Outside, the wind howled like it was laughing. Something in me died the night I read that pitch deck. Maybe it was belief. Maybe it was innocence. Maybe it was just the last part of me that thought truth was enough. I didn't want to be the better person anymore. I wanted to survive. So I stopped asking what was ethical and started asking what was effective. Vivian had rewritten me, piece by piece. Now I would rewrite her. I reactivated the AI device. Not to listen this time, but to speak. I trained it on her voice, her laugh, her pauses, the way she breathed before lying. I fed it everything I'd collected, interviews, speeches, live streams. Then I typed. I made it all up. Claire never hurt me. I just hated being second, so I made her disappear. It sounded perfect. Her tone, her rhythm, her guilt. I rendered it into a video. Just 30 seconds long, just enough to light a match. Then I created a dummy account and uploaded it to a public forum known for whistleblowers. The clip went viral within 2 hours. The internet didn't know what to believe. Some said it was edited. Some said it was brave. Others reposted it with captions like, "What happens in the dark always comes to light." Vivian didn't respond publicly, but the silence was strategic. She knew better than to engage in chaos without a narrative. I'd cracked her mask, but not shattered it. I needed more than a spark. I needed structure. That's when I reached out to someone I never thought I'd call, an ex-client, a white hat hacker named Jules. I'd once defended him in a cybercrime case. We hadn't spoken in years. He picked up after one ring. "Took you long enough. I need logs, everything, every upload she's ever made, every file, every false signature. Can you do it?" There was a pause. Then, "You're talking about her, aren't you?" I didn't need to say her name. "Give me 72 hours, he said. While he worked, I began crafting the finale, a dual live stream event. One window showing Vivian in her next big Q&A, scheduled for a high-profile mental health panel. The other, mine, anonymous at first, slowly revealing everything. I wrote scripts, designed visuals, timed each revelation to line up with her rehearsed answers. Her voice, her words, her projections, played against her real manipulations. I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I didn't eat unless my hands were steady enough to hold a spoon. And still, a part of me wondered, am I becoming her? I was using deception. I was crafting illusion. I was baiting the public with curated content. I was doing what she did, but I kept going. Because I wasn't doing it to win followers. I wasn't doing it to rewrite history. I was doing it to reclaim mine. 3 days later, Jules delivered. Logs, IP traces, metadata, upload timestamps, source drives, even user behavior patterns that showed Vivian remotely accessing my work accounts over the years. I had her, and she knew it. That night, an unlisted video link arrived in my inbox. No sender, no message, just a timestamp. I clicked. It opened on my face, my real face. I was in a room I didn't recognize. The lighting was soft. I looked tired, lost. I stared at the camera and said, I faked everything. The abuse, the deepfakes, all of it. I did it to punish my sister for being loved. My mouth dropped open. I couldn't look away. It was flawless. My voice, my cadence, even the way I tucked my hair behind my ear when I was nervous. It was like watching myself confess. Except I hadn't. The date on the file, tomorrow. She'd preempted me. Again. My live stream would go live at noon. If this clip dropped first, nothing I said would matter. No one would believe me. I'd just look like a guilty woman trying to spin another lie. I stared at the screen, pulse racing. This was no longer defense. This was war. I didn't sleep the night before the live stream. I didn't need rest. I needed clarity. At 4:37 a.m., I uploaded everything. Every file, every log, every forensic trace of Vivian's manipulations, to a decentralized blockchain. No editor could alter it. No lawyer could scrub it. No follower could flag it down. It was permanent, unkillable, living in the architecture of the internet itself. I called it the truth drop. The link went live 30 minutes before Vivian's panel began. There was no press release, no announcement, just a cold, silent post titled, Everything You Thought You Knew. Then I set up my stream. I didn't hide my face. I didn't use filters. I sat in front of my dead AI device and pressed Go Live. The view count climbed fast, 10,000, 30, 50, over 100,000 within the first 5 minutes. The screen split in half. On one side, Vivian, glowing under stage lights, framed by the words empathy and innovation. On the other, me. No makeup, no smile. No production. She began with grace, of course. She always did. We must believe survivors, she said, her hands soft, voice trembling just right. Even when their pain is inconvenient. I let her speak. Let her set the trap for herself. Then I triggered the side feed, overlaying every word she said with metadata, time-stamped voice matching, real-time contradiction, side-by-side video comparisons, Vivian's speech cut with her rehearsals, her digital doppelgangers layered over real moments. At the 12-minute mark, I played the crown jewel, the training footage from her fake law office. Her in my clothes, her in my voice, her in my life. The livestream chat exploded. She froze. For the first time, Vivian didn't have a line ready. Vivian, I said, speaking directly to her across the split screen, this isn't about hate or revenge. This is about you using technology to commit emotional murder and getting applause for it. She opened her mouth. I cut the feed. Then I played the final clip. A full, unedited conversation between her and our parents, laughing, planning, referring to the project as a narrative coup. No edits, no framing. Just reality. The world saw it. They saw her, and they saw me. When it ended, I looked into the camera one last time. You don't have to believe me, I said. Just never forget how easily this could be you. Then I closed the stream. I shut down everything. The fallout arrived faster than I expected. Within 2 hours, every major network picked up the story. Headlines flipped. Sister of influencer proves innocence in deepfake scandal. Truth weaponized, how one woman reclaimed her life with data. Vivian Hensley under investigation for digital fraud. The real blow came when the platforms turned. Vivian's accounts were suspended for manipulative content and targeted harassment. Her brand partnerships disappeared overnight. Several filed lawsuits, claiming she had knowingly used falsified narratives to generate profit. She tried to explain, of course, released a tearful apology, blamed editorial teams, said she was misunderstood. But the eyes that once adored her now scanned for edits, cuts, glitches in her tears. They didn't see a survivor anymore. They saw a performer with a script no one believed. 2 days later, she was arrested on multiple counts: defamation, malicious impersonation, digital fraud, and conspiracy. But she didn't cry. She didn't fight. She just stared blankly into the cameras as they took her away. Then came the press conference. My parents stood at a podium, hands clenched, faces solemn. They apologized to the community, to those who trusted their daughter, to anyone affected by misleading narratives. Not once did they say my name. Not once did they apologize to me, because in their eyes the real tragedy was that their beautiful machine had broken in public. I stayed silent. When journalists reached out for interviews, I declined them all. I didn't want to talk, not anymore. Not about her, not about them. But 3 weeks later, a video appeared online. It was me, smiling, forgiving, telling the world, what matters is healing. But it wasn't me. It was another deepfake, smoother, more advanced, likely crafted by someone trying to cash in on my story. This time, though, no one believed it. The comments were filled with skepticism. Nice try. Check the mouth desync. Claire doesn't blink like that. The world had changed, just enough. I watched it once, then deleted the tab. No anger, no fear, just quiet. The war was over. Not because I won, but because I stopped letting her write the ending. The offer came in a plain email. No fanfare, no press, no promises. Just a line from someone at a nonprofit I'd never heard of. We think you could help others find themselves again. They were called Vigil, a quiet organization that specialized in defending digital identity, supporting victims of impersonation, deepfake abuse, reputation theft. Their motto was short: truth is worth protecting, even when it's ugly. I didn't hesitate, not because I needed to be useful, not because I was ready, but because I knew exactly what it felt like to lose the right to your own reflection. My first month with Vigil wasn't glamorous. I sat in on intake calls with people who spoke in fragmented whispers, a teacher accused of things they didn't say, a teenager whose face was plastered onto someone else's mistake, a journalist whose past was rewritten by political enemies. I didn't offer them hope. That wasn't my job. I offered them language, tools, a roadmap out of hell. And then, one afternoon, a letter arrived in our office mailbox, handwritten, folded carefully. It read, "Dear Claire, they told me I was paranoid, that I needed help, that I made it all up. But then I saw you, I saw your story, and for the first time, I believed I wasn't crazy. Thank you for surviving. Thank you for not letting them erase you. You made it easier to breathe. Love, Lila, age 14. I sat with that letter for a long time. I didn't cry, I didn't smile. I just breathed, slowly, completely. Because that was the thing I'd learned. Healing doesn't always look like celebration. Sometimes it just looks like silence, and knowing the silence is finally your own. The world moved on from Vivian's downfall faster than I expected. Public interest has no patience for anything it can't glamorize. Her name faded from hashtags. Her face stopped trending. But the shift was real, quiet, lasting. People became skeptics, not in cynicism, but in awareness. They stopped believing everything that was smooth and shiny. They began asking better questions. "We believe Claire," one blogger wrote, "not because of the files, but because she never changed her story, even when no one listened." I saved that quote in my bookmarks, not as proof. As a reminder. Months passed. I no longer checked my analytics, no longer scrolled through comments or search engines looking for my name. The truth had settled where it belonged, in the background. One evening, Jules called. "You know your clip is being taught in law schools now?" he said. "Which one?" "All of them." We laughed. It was strange how normal that felt now. Strange how survival, over time, became less like a battle and more like a choice I kept making, day after day. Eventually, I left the city. I bought a small house near the woods, where cell service came in patches and the air held secrets. The locals didn't know who I was, Or if they did, they didn't care. I grew vegetables. I learned to bake. I walked without headphones. I started writing again, not about the past, but about the process of becoming after the past refuses to let you go. Somewhere in the second winter, a delivery arrived. No return label, no note. Inside, an old camcorder, manual, no digital interface, no Wi-Fi, no screen, just one button. I laughed. It felt like a prank from a universe that had finally run out of ways to test me. Still, I took it with me on a walk through the snow-covered forest. I found a clearing just off the trail where the frost sparkled in sheets and the trees whispered nothing at all. I set the camera on a rock, pointed it toward me, and pressed record. The red light blinked once, then stopped. Broken, but I didn't move. I sat in front of it, bundled in wool and wind, and smiled. Not the kind of smile I used to give for family photos. Not the kind I practiced in the mirror during media training. Just a smile. Small. Real. "I know who I am," I whispered, though no one was there to hear it. "And that's enough." The wind picked up, carrying no response, and for the first time I didn't need one. I left the camera where it was, its lens pointed nowhere, recording nothing. It didn't matter, because for the first time in years I wasn't speaking for anyone but myself.